Hi folks, how are you doing? Today we're gonna go on with this series of world champions, and we're gonna take a look at the game from the third world champion of history, Jose Raul Capablanca, the genius from Cuba. He was really one of the biggest talents chess has had in his history. Learned the game by itself, just looking how his father was playing his friends. And at a very early age, when he was still a very young kid, he was also already defeating all the strong players in the Cuban islands. So when he grew up a little, he went to United States to study engineering or something like that, I think. But although he didn't, well, he didn't couldn't focus on his career, on his on university too much, because he wanted to develop a career as chess player. So he went on playing lots of tournaments. He won a famous tournament in San Sebastian, Spain in 1911, I think, with an amazing score. So he had a very natural talent for the game. He liked very simple and uh, technical positions where he could show his natural abilities to understand perfectly the end games, the middle game. So in the openings, moreover in his young years, he was not really good. He just played some moves to get out of the opening and to show his superiority in middle games and in end games. So something really similar was to what happens with Carlsen. Not that he doesn't know openings, but he really likes. They are similar in this kind of positions. They do like simple and really not very theoretical positions, just middle games, just end games, just both of them. They just love it and are absolutely superior to other players in this stage of the game. So we're gonna say a game today by played at Capablanca in Los Angeles, in LA, in 1933. His opponent was Steiner, a pretty strong player. Capablanca is white. He went on to play e4, e5, knight f3. Steiner plays knight f6, trying to go with the Petrovo-Russian defense, but Capablanca just plays knight c3, avoiding it, knight f6, and we got the four knights opening, very classical, very old opening. Now bishop b5 and bishop b4, the old classical and symmetrical defense. I think this knight d4 move is called the Rubinstein variation. Is not a very interesting move, and well, leads to very complicated and some crazy lines. I used to know something about this some years ago. It was really interesting. But okay, bishop b4 was played, which was another move. Now the game goes on with some normal and logical moves. Castle, d3, d6, just everything symmetrical. Now bishop g5. At this point, black deviates from playing symmetrical moves. He takes on c3. White takes, because well, the idea in these lines is try to put the knight on d5 and put some pressure on this knight, which is pinned. So black just takes and gets away with that. Now knight e7, fairly typical maneuver in these kinds of positions, I think, as far as I know, because black is really not worried about having to double the pawns here, because the knight is more or less going to go to g6, and well, he's not going to have, usually not going to have problems on the king side if he's careful, so black doesn't mind if white takes here. Capablanca in fact played knight h4 with some ideas of bringing maybe the queen eventually, or bringing the knight into the king side position, and while trying to create some trouble. Had he taken, well, something like this could have happened. Now knight h4 is the most played move here, still playable for both players, nothing really strange. And now black has a couple of decent chances to play. Now knight g6 is not bad, so if white takes, he can take with both pawns, I think. This diagonal, this light square diagonal, might seem a little bit loose, but I think there is not much problem there. He could also take with the h-pawn, so although his pawn structure seems a little bit weird, but I don't think there is much trouble here. This is roughly an equal game. And instead of knight g6, I even like this f5 move, just getting rid of this doubled pawn, and well, just challenging the center of white. Still okay, still an okay position, I think. No, nothing really strange going on. But all this didn't happen because Capablanca didn't took there. He would just play this knight h4. Now c6, chasing that bishop out of there and controlling this d5 square. Bishop c4. Now this pawn is already pinned on f7. The bishop is now on a good diagonal. And here black plays a quite bad move, which leads, in fact, to the defeat. There are much more normal moves here, like d5, trying to get some control of the center. But bishop e6 was played here. It seems really a natural move, like very typical in these kinds of positions. Well, black doesn't mind to take on the f file with the on the a file with recapturing with the f pawn, so he's strengthening the center. But there is a little problem here, tactical problem, which Capablanca is going to exploit magistrally, really in a brilliant way. Funny enough, in my database there are only 2 games with this move, bishop e6. Both of them played and won by Capablanca as white. So the other game, the world champion Capablanca had won against I think Gelly, a guy called Gelly, 22 years before in Buenos Aires, Argentina. So the point is that white takes on f6 first. Now g takes f6, and now he takes on he takes on f6 first, and then he takes on e6. And the point is that now the queen has a direct way to attack the black king here on the king side. If white tries to do it in other way, just taking here first on e6, it just does not work, because after f takes, bishop takes, the rook can take. The pawn is not on f6 anymore, and the rook is quite active here defending, and probably white hasn't got much problem here. But instead, Capablanca just seized the problem for black position. It takes on f6 first, then e6. Now queen g4 check. Now right now he's attacking both the king and e6. So in both games he played this line. Both opponents went for king is f7, just protecting that pawn. But anyway, going to h8 is not going to be that good either, because now takes. Now queen c7, defending the rook, the knight, connecting rooks, but well, probably not that bad as going to f7. But white is up a pawn. His black king's position is really weak, not that great, and white is really going to win this game. I think 90% of chances for white to win. Pawn up, active queen, black king is really weak. So instead, in both games he played, the opponent played king f7, just trying to, well, probably protecting the pawn and trying to get out with the rook on the g file and trying to regroup in any way. Now f4 is very logical, opening lines against black king. I just really like how simple these moves seem, but really very strong moves Capablanca played in this game, as usually he did. Opening lines against the black king. Now he's going to show that there is not much defense. Rook g8 seems logical, because, well, he's getting the open file, chasing the queen, etc. But queen h5 check. Now king g7, of course going to f8. Now white would take, and wants to take here with the rook, checkmating in a couple of moves. So black probably would have to put the knight in between, sacrificing the knight, which is not that great at this point. So king g7 was played here. Now very strong take, and really a very spectacular move here. A move I hope you will not forget forever. Rook takes f6, just getting rid of the pawn on f6, sacrificing the rook. Very spectacular way to chase the black king. Now black really has to take. What else? I mean, knight g6, probably trying to close this, but this fails to some kind of these things. Now going to f8, and white is threatening after queen h7 to checkmate black king with rook f1, and going to with queen f7. So if black wants to avoid that in any way, should play something like king e8, but he's dropping the rook, so really nothing black could do if he doesn't take the pawn. So he goes ahead to take it. Rook f1 check. Now the knight must go to f5, try to save the day, as king g7 fails to this checkmate, and white can choose which piece he's going to use to checkmate black king on h8. So knight f5, and Capablanca went on to take with the knight. Here, well, taking with the pawn is possible as well, I guess, because he's going to recapture anyway. But maybe it gives some time black king to try to escape or whatever. So here, this way, he forces matters, and rook takes f5 check. Now king e7, and now the great chase begins. Black is up a rook or a couple of pawns, but his king's position is really miserable, and he's going to be checkmated very soon, as we will see. Capablanca plays absolutely like a machine here. Queen f7 check, check with the rook. Now takes on b7, threatening a couple of ways of checkmate on b4, on c6 with the rook. Now queen b6, it seems that black is protecting both ways of checkmate, trying to exchange queens, which would obviously give him the victory. But there is a funny way to finish the game here. Rook takes. In this game, queen took on c6, which means that queen b4, Capablanca announced checkmate. But anyway, not taking, with the other move other than taking is to go away with king b5. But now white takes the queen, takes the pawn on h7, and he got a queen and no less than 5 pawns against the 2 rooks, which is not going to be, of course, the 2 rooks are not going to be enough to stop white from winning. So Steiner probably realized it and preferred to get the game finished right away with queen b4 and beautiful checkmate. White is down 2 rooks, but he's checkmating black's king, which is in a really bad situation here in the center. Just take a look at the trip he took from g8, having castled and going here to be checkmated in the center. Really a great move, a great game from José Raúl Capablanca, finishing the game very tactically, very not really in his usual way, because as I said, he's really liked this technical endgame, this solid and rather dull way of playing, but he was really brilliant in that game, kind of middle games and end games. But anyway, here we got the 3rd world champion from Cuba, who was a really great, a really brilliant player, one of the most talented players we've ever had. So let us see who are we going to find in our next videos. Hope to see you there, and thanks for watching.